is up, guys? This is the Mike and D Casual Wrestling Hot Take Show, where each and every week me and Mike drop two of our biggest hot takes on the community. If you enjoy the channel, make sure to support us with a casual wrestling membership on YouTube. If you don't want to join the monthly basis, you can support us through YouTube Super Chats, which guarantee your voices is heard before the end of the episode. Super Chats take priority over all other chats on the channel. And if you don't have any bucks to throw our way, that's okay. Just like, share, and tell somebody about the content we make. I am watching the YouTube chat today, nobody on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok and you want to be heard, jump over to YouTube and you can let us know what you're thinking. All right, it's that time again, Mike. Time to set the wrestling world on fire. Time to tickle the brains of the casual wrestling fans. It is time to drop our hottest, sweatiest takes on the community, starting with, I'll let you go first.
Yes, I'm just, my first hot take is kind of coming off of last night while it's still kind of fresh. It's about the Wyatt Six, man, and specifically Uncle Howdy. I was excited in the beginning, the presentation, the debut, and it just when you watch the debut, you got a sense that, oh, this is going to be something different. This is going to be something that we haven't seen before, and you anticipated that over the weeks it would kind of be told, through story, what each character was, what they're trying to do and accomplish in WWE. And then you fast forward to last night and it's just like, I'm throwing my hands up now. I tried to ride with it and it just, there's nothing other than a Bray Wyatt tribute. And it's just every week, it just seems to be a tribute every single week. And, respectfully, I say this respectfully, he's been gone for a year now. I can understand, like a couple weeks, a month. I mean, it's a year now, and you see Bo Dallas in the ring, and I'm gonna call him Bo Dallas because I don't know at this point. It's just he's imitating Bray, and it's just he's getting his ass beat at the same time, and it for what, at the expense of Chad Gable. I mean, I guess that's another way we can go with it as well. There's two different storylines here. The Wyatt Six. Why are we cutting the lights out for the three others to come out with no mask? It just looked like regular wrestlers coming out. I didn't get that part. And then and Barry and Chad Gable in the process. Like I think me and you had an exchange in the Discord where it's like, Chad Gable better not lose this match. Like. And of course he does, and for what, the benefit of a cheap pop, because I don't even think the crowd was that excited that he won, to be honest with you.
It's all fan service, man.
Yeah, it's just it's been a huge miss. I don't know where the hell you go directional wise after this with the Wyatt Six. You had mentioned a couple weeks ago, like, this is Triple H kind of saying, hey, I don't know what else to do with you guys. It seemed like last night was kind of like, hey, you go out there, you can make a fool of yourself if you want. And that's exactly what happened. And this is not something I'm excited about anymore moving forward. I want American made. Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, I've been attacked all day on this topic on TikTok. They've just like, so I called for them to be supervillains, right? And the immediate argument is from everybody, they're baby faces. You don't understand the psychology of wrestling. No, I do. Here's my problem. Week one, we were introduced to a group that absolutely didn't give a shit, tried to murder Chad Gable, and then took out how many innocent people in the back of, if it was just Chad Gable, I could get on the train that, like, okay, this is Batman. Because this is what this is being portrayed to us now, is Uncle Howdy is Batman. He is the server of justice. He will right all the wrongs, except the problem is, Gable's not that bad.
No.
In the scope of what heels are, Gable's the guy that they've thrown this idea that's the injustice we have to fix. I was told so many times today that the Wyatt Six are going after people who turned on their family. What? I don't even know that Gable really turned on his... Gable was a teacher. His gimmick was to be a coach. Anybody who's had a coach knows there are some coaches that are assholes and who have high expectations for you. My problem with this Wyatt Six stuff is there is no consistency. It's 1 week they are brought out and maybe the coolest introduction we've seen in a long time, where they destroy the back, they have on these masks, they look like creepy, villains, and I keep using the word villains because they look like villains. They have all of the potential to be villains, and the argument people keep throwing at me is the Undertaker. They're not the Undertaker. The Undertaker didn't debut by destroying the locker room. And so now we have this group, the Wyatt Six, who week after week, Bo Dallas gets on TV and talks about cutting the head off the serpent and this injustice. Yet you started by taking out half of the locker room. And so then somebody had the audacity to tell me, well, nobody gives a shit about them. They're extras. No. If I have to play the game of like omitting certain information from the story in order to make it make sense, then it's inconsistent booking. The Wyatt Six, what you said is exactly right. It is the Bray Wyatt tribute band. That's what it is at this point. And I said it yesterday. I'm okay with that, but not for the main event. That's not main event. That you stick that somewhere in the beginning of hour 3. You time fill with that. You give the crowd can get excited. You could shut the lights off. You could turn them back on. It doesn't make sense, but you could do whatever you want. There's so much inconsistency with this. They have masks one week. They don't have masks the next week. They have the ability to shut the lights off and turn them right back on. Like, it just feels to me like you said, Triple H kind of sat down and was like, I don't fucking know. Just like, if you want to turn the lights off, sure, turn the lights off. You want to turn them back on, turn them back on. They don't come out as a group. Like, to me, the whole optic that's great is when they come out as a group, when they don't follow the rules, when they do certain things like that. And so someone told me, well, how would you book baby faces? To me, I wouldn't have them be face or heel. They would just cause problems.
Right. I can't determine whether they're baby faces or heels because there hasn't been storytelling. I mean,
that's exactly right.
Yeah. For me, the disconnect that I found last night was the match part, right? Like I can get the spooky supernatural kind of like gimmicky, ordeal that we have going on. But when you get into the ring and you're actually wrestling a match and you're over here either imitating Bray or you're getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Because it's telling me you're either a tribute or you're just weak as hell. And for me, there's got to be more. Like, I mentioned this a couple months ago or whenever they debuted. This should not be about wins and losses in matches
at all.
It shouldn't have been. And they shifted to it. They started with that 3v3, and now they did this Bo Dallas Uncle Howdy thing, and it's a complete miss so far. For me, I don't know where you go moving forward. You cannot keep him tied with American Made. It has to be done. It has to be done.
I equated this to Game of Thrones a couple weeks ago, and it really feels like we just skipped ahead to season 8 with the Wyatt Six. The missed opportunity in week after week. We could go probably all the way to January with Uncle Howdy month after month recruiting these characters and giving them purpose and giving them story. Why didn't we have Dexter Lumis lose 4 or 5 matches in a row and then show Uncle Howdy in the back like, come with me, son, let me show you the ways of your errors, and then go to actually recruiting Redbeard away from whatever independent wrestling he's doing and create a lore. It feels like we just went from these guys have disappeared to here they are. We've been given these bullshit, the Bo Dallas video packages at the beginning were good. Then we started doing Nikki Cross, and it was just they gave up. It was well, they can't talk as good as Bo, so we're going to weirdly speed through all of this. To now, I honestly believe when Bo Dallas talks, he says nothing. He just speaks in almost biblical terms or these metaphors that really don't make sense. I'm cutting the head off the serpent. What serpent is Chad Gable the head of?
Right, right.
He's got a new group with American Made, but I don't get it. I mean, and for all of, I understand there's a sentiment, right? There are a certain group of people, and I think this is the people who are attacking over these takes is they just miss Bray Wyatt. And so anything that has to do with Bray Wyatt, they're going to cling to, and that's fine. But don't do it at the main event. Don't do it on the go-home show main event of Monday Night Raw. Put it second to last. Put it somewhere, hide it somewhere in the middle of the show. And it felt to me, honestly, like on Monday night, Triple H just had nothing to end the show with. He had Gunther. Yeah. He had Gunther in Germany already. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was willing to invest in Bronson Reed as the main event. So it really felt like, all right, let's just put Uncle Howdy in the main event, and there'll be a certain amount of people who defend this. Yeah. I don't love it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to drop my first take on you, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm going a little bit outside. This has nothing to do with yesterday. This has to do a little bit with Rikishi speaking up. Because I feel, but here's the thing, because I'm with you, right? But we do the same thing, right? Rikishi has to get people to listen. But there's a little bit of something deeper in that I don't think Rikishi would say anything if he's not directly in the ear of Jey Uso. So my take is, I think ultimately when we look back on the entirety of the Bloodline story, we're going to realize that it ended up doing more harm to a lot of people than it did positive for a very small specific group of wrestlers who were able to kind of supersede the level. Like I think we're going to look back at Jey Uso and go, they weren't able to put titles on him because he was always in holding to go back to the Bloodline. I think you're going to look at Jimmy and the breakup of the Usos and taking them away as a tag team. I think you're going to look at the Tama Tonga and Tongaloa and those guys and realize they were always just pawns. They never really got elevated. What happened to these guys once the Bloodline falls apart? Because ultimately, this is a long road. Like we still have a long way to go to get to WrestleMania, which ultimately is going to only build up The Rock and Roman Reigns. Outside of that, we have seen the devastation of what the Bloodline can do as far as like Jay and Jimmy. They were hot about 6 months before WrestleMania. That match could have main evented any premium live event, anyone they wanted. Yeah. And instead, they held on to that to get it all the way to WrestleMania, and then it became a time filler. And they didn't give them proper time. And so I look at that as that's a casualty of the way the Bloodline is booked. The idea that the Bloodline's matches can only happen at the Big Four. That they can only happen, that Rock and Roman can only happen at WrestleMania, that Jay and Jimmy can only happen. That should have happened way earlier. We should have got one version. Now, you could have done it again at WrestleMania in a different capacity, but I believe when we look back that there's going to be casualties. And on top of that, I'm going to throw a bonus in. I think at some point, somebody involved in this story, whether it's one of the Tongaloas or Tamatongas, they're going to get frustrated to the point where they ask to be released. And they're going to make the jump to AEW. And Tony Khan's crazy enough to start like a Samoan dynasty in AEW.
Okay. I mean, so going back to the Rikishi part, I think there's some truth to that, right? Like, I mean, that's his son, right? I mean, so obviously they communicate regularly, I assume. So, I could see how there's been some, communication between the two where maybe he's voiced a little bit of frustration. I can honestly say, I think as fans, at least you and I, we can agree that Jay doesn't need a title, but I'd be hard pressed to assume that Jay has just come to terms with not getting a title.
So that's the question I want to ask you real quick is I agree with you. He doesn't need a title, but what if the conversation coming out of WrestleMania, right? Jay and Jimmy have that match. It's cut short, and Triple H pulls, and this is all speculation, but Triple H pulls Jay aside to try to calm the nerves and goes, hey, look, there's great things ahead of you. I've got plans for you to win the Intercontinental Championship, right? Yeah. And then we go 6 months down the road, and it's kind of the keep promising, well, I had to do this for Gunther, Sure. Well, I had to do this for Money in the Bank. I had to, and it feels like Jay could start to, get into the ear of Rikishi and go, Dad, they keep promising me this shit. And Rikishi could go, hey, man, that's what they do. They're going to promise you.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to put myself into a wrestler's shoes, right? You're in a big tag team for so long, and now they're telling you, hey, you're going to go on a little singles run here. I would imagine that the mindset of that would be, oh, I'm gonna win a title at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Like even if it's not presented to you straight away, I think that's the thought process you would have is, okay, at some point I'm gonna. So then he's getting thrown into IC title matches, world championship, and it's and King of the Ring. And I think at some point, any human being's got to start to wonder, well, what's really going? I mean, yeah, I'm over.
Yes.
The merch, revenue is great. I love having Yeet Fest with the crowd, but like, am I ever going to get that, get the belt or get some shine here being a singles competitor? I think, and I could see that being a situation where like, hey, they've kind of just been rolling me along here. It's been fun, but I'd like something else here. And yeah, I could see that being a situation.
Doesn't the Yeet, doesn't that whole situation make it worse to me? Because you're told your whole life probably as a wrestler, look, you got to get over, you got to sell merchandise, and you're the guy. That's who they put the strap on.
Yep, right.
And so you go, well, shit, I've got the hottest interest in the business. Mm-hmm. I fucking throw my hands down, and the entire crowd goes yeet. I get up on the ropes and do this, and we're on Daniel Bryan's status of the crowd reacting and being positive towards me. So check, I've hit that check mark, right? Then he goes, merch sells. I see Yeet shirts more than I see almost any other shirt in pro wrestling, right? That got over. Right. So you go, all right, check. What am I not doing? Why are you not putting me in this? Why are you putting these other people in positions? And I get like Braun Breaker, that's the next guy, unfortunately. But like, I'd be like, shit, move me back to SmackDown and let me go after LA Knight. I can rival that. I can create stories with that. I think the problem is for like Jay, he can't turn heel because I think he's pigeon locked into, at some point they're pulling him back into the bloodline. So he's really just stuck in being like kind of what he is, what we see. It's like they use him for these big fan service moments, and that's kind of the ceiling for him right now.
And I gotta imagine, like, mentally, because us as fans, every championship match or tournament that he's been in, we've all just kind of assumed like he's not winning.
Yeah,
like there's not a so I gotta imagine that at some point he starts to think that as well going into these situations. And it could get taxing, right? Like, hey, I'm just a pawn, every time that I'm going into these situations.
My question is, why do you have to put him in those situations?
That's a good question.
If he's set up to lose, and he's going to lose, there are 30 other guys on the roster that you can fill a spot to lose. Why do they keep putting him in situations where we get hyped up and where a lot of the fans want him to win, and then he's just like this Intercontinental Championship tournament? Do you think he wins? No, right? Are you feeding him to Braun Breaker?
Probably.
Oh,
honestly,
shit.
Honestly, like, because who are you going to put against Braun? Those two promos that they cut last night, that was kind of an indicator, right? Like Braun coming at his family, and then Jay kind of swinging. Like that was just like that was kind of the.
I guess it feels like Jay's going to be so beat to shit by the time he gets to the bloodline that he's going to be Roman's like little puppy again.
I thought by this point there would have been something in motion with him getting back there, and it's just they're holding it for something. I don't know what.
Well, I think it's just time. Like I literally think that's the problem. That's kind of what the last thing I had written down was, I think Roman and all these people are going to start to wear thin on a lot of fans because they've got certain dates in mind, right?
Yeah.
And until then, when Roman shows up, it's going to be a whole lot of nothing. Yeah. Unless it's a planned story beat, it's going to be just these whole lots of nothing. Like I'm sure they have Jimmy's date kind of planned. I'm sure they've got the date that like Survivor Series starts getting booked. And until then, we're just in holding. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
All right, what's your second take?
Yeah, man. So initially we had a conversation of let's come on here and let's just destroy AEW, right? Yeah. Like let's get some eyes and stuff. But I will admit, I went back, I watched a couple of those matches from the pay-per-view. AEW puts on pretty good pay-per-views. I will absolutely tip my hat to that. Like if Tony Khan does anything right in my mind, It's that he books these pay-per-views well and they turn out well. And I think the disconnect comes from the weekly television, right? Like for me, I have found it hard to invest in the weekly television. But then it's like you go on X and you kind of watch these matches and it's a spectacle and it's like, oh, okay, well, they definitely have something, right? So I guess like for me, I'm just curious, like to AEW fans, like what am I missing? Like why am I having this disconnect from the weekly television to the pay-per-view? Like I want the puzzle pieces to kind of start making this kind of feel right for me, because and another part, I noticed that in our Discord, at least, there was some comments that the crowd was quiet majority of the night, and I think that's good. That's an issue that equates itself to kind of going to these large stadiums and maybe fans not being completely familiar with your product, right? Like, hey, AEW's coming to town overseas. Like, hey, this is all we're gonna get for God knows how long. Let's go and see what's going on. You get there, and maybe you're not like you're a casual fan like you and I, and it's like, well, I really don't know what to do other than pop for the big spots and moments, right? I think that's kind of a product of what, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that's kind of what's going on. I'm interested to see when they go to Texas, is it next year? Mm-hmm. What the turnout's going to be, and what the product is going to be as well, because I think that's going to be the determining factor of like what AEW is right now. You can go overseas anytime you want. You're going to fill out any stadium anytime because they don't get much. But when you come here, you know, and in the states that you go to, and you know your arenas are kind of empty. Filling out a stadium in Texas, man, that'd be a big accomplishment. So I guess for my hot take is AEW seems to put on good pay-per-views, but why am I having a disconnect from the weekly television to the pay-per-view?
So I'm gonna try and give my 2 cents on why I think it happens, because I think the thing that we're complaining about with the Wyatt Six is literally the entire business plan of AEW, and that is, I believe Tony Khan believes I can put two big names in a match, and I don't really have to tell a story to get there. That IWC fans are just okay. We're just good. If you put Will Ospreay and MJF in the ring, it doesn't have to make sense. Once we get to that big pay-per-view, people are going to be excited. And I think that's why in a vacuum, because me and you don't watch weekly AEW television, and then we watch a match like that, in a vacuum, we almost give them a pass because we don't watch the weekly television, that we go, oh, that's a good match, right? It's the same argument that I think I would make when we watch Gunther and Randy Orton this weekend. That's going to be a good match. Now, we're nitpicky because we go, the shit that happened the 4 weeks before wasn't good. And because we're fans of WWE, we're a little more critical of that. With AEW, I think that it's almost expected that that's okay. As long as we're getting Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland, we'll throw in some weird stipulation of retirement, but it's so loosely connected to the story that the story really is, here's another dream match. And so I think on AEW, the thing at least I've noticed is there's no consistency. I can watch AEW 1 week and it's 13 wrestlers, and then I can watch it the next week and it's a different 13 wrestlers, because it almost just feels like Tony Khan is putting together the best possible matches he thinks he can make. Now, for somebody who watches for the soap opera, for the story, that tends to turn me off. Whereas the IWC fans who do just want great wrestling, I think that's why they gravitate to AEW, versus in WWE, where we'll get Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes 3 weeks in a row because they're trying to drive home the importance of a story. And I think that the IWC goes, it's the same shit over and over. So I think it's just really the flavor of ice cream that you like when it comes to wrestling. And that's why AEW fans, but I would argue that what you said is, you know, the AEW show will fill up overseas. I think you're 100% correct. I would say that that's WWE's issue every week. I think that 40% of WWE crowds in every city are just people who heard wrestling is coming.
Okay.
And so you get grandmas, you get little kids, and they're not following the story. They're not watching Monday Night Raw every week. So they're just showing up because they know wrestling's here. And so
Okay.
I do believe what, like you said, when they come to Texas, it's going to be a different monster. Because now you've got to convince people, like WWE has these larger than life names. Like, you know, you look at the past, John Cena, Roman Reigns, even Bianca Belair. People will show up for WWE for one name, right?
Yeah.
That my kid loves this person, we're going to see them. I just don't know if AEW has those names for a United States market to get people to show up to Texas. So I think you're absolutely right.
Maybe it's starting to click with me now that I've just been kind of viewing AEW incorrectly. Like maybe it's, you know, these local shows that we come to, like our auditoriums here, where it's like we have no idea. There's no story. It's just there's a poster. Hey, it's blank versus blank, and that's the show. And we go to those shows and we get excited. So maybe I have to start viewing AEW in a similar light. And I, you know, like you said, like people that like the soap opera and the story, that could be a turnoff. But you know, maybe if I switch it in my mind where it's like, okay, this is supposed to be just kind of like a one-off, kind of an indie show. Maybe I can start to kind of understand and get behind it a little bit.
But here's the problem: Tony Khan keeps telling us differently. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is if Tony Khan would let us view it that way, I think we could get ourselves into a headspace where we go, this is kind of the indie one-off thing, and you just go, like you said, your perfect example. You show up to your local wrestling thing, you don't know who the hell anybody is.
No.
You just enjoy it because it's kind of chaos. It's wrestling.
Right.
You can tell who the good guy is. You can tell who the bad guy is. You choose your side.
Right.
And you have fun, right?
Yeah.
But Tony Khan keeps trying to sell us on, we're WWE. We are a competitor. We're Pepsi to Coke. You're not. You're a whole different soft drink. And I think, I will say, I think We Too Deep has made this argument to me before that AEW is a completely different product. My argument is always, that's fine, but your chief marketing guy, Tony Khan, keeps trying to convince me otherwise. All your wrestlers keep speaking up and trying to explain to me why they're as good as WWE. You're different, and that's okay. And maybe and that's going to lead into my second take.
Okay, yeah.
Which I'll go ahead and drop now, which is fucking Ricochet has just flown off the handles. All of a sudden he leaves WWE, and all of a sudden we get to witness how fragile the ego of Ricochet is when he's released on Twitter and allowed to have his opinions and speak his mind, which is fine. Everybody's welcome to do that. But I don't know if you've been seeing, like, he's just going after everybody.
Yeah.
Like, people who are not even saying things necessarily that are negative towards him, he's just attacking everybody. I screenshotted right here. This person drops a tweet that says, I love Ricochet. I don't watch AEW, but I'll be watching his highlights for sure. He responds back, I'm conflicted with this. So if you love watching me, then why don't you watch me at AEW? Just so you can say I'm not watching that? Serious question. Like, did that really need a response?
I mean, you could respond, but I don't think that was the correct response. Right? It's like, that's one that you got to be like, thank you for being a fan, right?
Right. So like, you just probably turned off one of your fans. So then someone else replies and says, I don't even think she was saying that to diss you, bro. I think that maybe AEW isn't for her, and she likes you enough to just keep up with what you're doing. So he pops back. He's invested in this, but doesn't like me enough to watch my actual matches, just enough to only watch the highlights. Bro, that's how somebody gets, like, it starts with highlights, and then they'll evolve into watching your matches. I don't know why you're attacking on this.
That sounds like a guy that's skeptical of the decision that he made.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. Like, that he's trying to defend his decision to do what he did. That's what I'm getting.
So it goes on. Someone else responds. It's another third party. We're getting third parties jumping in here too.
Okay.
It almost feels like these people are trying to, like, cushion the blow for him. Like, hey, bro, you're walking down the wrong path. So this guy says, it's weird you're being so online about this. You're a TV star, man. Some people don't like AEW. This person is just saying that they will watch what you do. They just, AEW is different, and it's not what they want to watch. Ricochet comes back and says, no, that's not what they said. So now he's speaking for the original person.
Oh,
and he goes, they said they're just going to watch my highlights. You know, you don't have to watch the entire show just to watch one match. So now,
you do.
This is the
yes,
guy.
you do.
You do, but also, Tony Khan, you just hired a guy who's not about. He's not about the entire program. All he gives a fuck is if someone watches his match. That's not a team player.
Yeah,
you're supposed to promote the entire show.
Yeah. That sounds like a little bit of a little frog in the throat there. Like, hey, I little skepticism there.
I mean, he's just. And then it goes on. There's another one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but somebody basically said, like, it was good watching Ricochet, probably never see him again. We can start the countdown until he's irrelevant. And Ricochet writes back, you only have 34 followers and you want to talk about irrelevant?
Oh, man.
That then goes on. It then proceeds to go on with Ricochet saying that followers are what make you important as a person. And so, I'll send you this Twitter thing. I'm not going to go because he goes for like 2 hours where he's just retorting, and someone's like, "This isn't a good look for you, Ricochet," and he's like, "I always look good." And it's just like, holy shit.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
You just left the WWE mid card to go to the AEW mid card, which is fine. Like, bet on yourself. I'm all good with that. I'm actually a fan of Ricochet. I think that he can be good. And maybe he's turning heel, and this is the heel persona of Ricochet, which I'm all about. That's even fine. But some of this feels petty.
Yeah.
Like, some of this feels like, and I'm not trying to compare us to Ricochet by any means, right? He's a wrestler.
Right.
We do a podcast. But we get attacked all the time. And there's about 90% of it I laugh off because it's like, I don't need to respond to this. This is somebody in their feelings. This is somebody who has an opinion, and we'll let it go. The fact that he's just firing from the hip back on all these people it seems to be the playbook of the avatar of somebody who leaves WWE to go to AEW. They have this inflated sense of who they are, and they almost feel like, the chains get taken off, and now I can just attack all these people that you should love me because of how good I am. And instead, it's just an attack of like, you don't get it. I'm better. I look good. Come on, man. Just go out there and prove yourself. Hey, if Ricochet goes out there and he kills it in AEW, everybody will eat their words.
Yeah. It's still confusing to me the jump that he made, because he was on television fairly regularly. I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. This is
speculation. I believe that a lot of this could be a work into a heel persona, which if it is, good play.
Right.
You're nailing this. If that's what this is, I do believe that in WWE, there are certain people, Bianca Belair, John Cena, I think Ricochet fell into this, that get pigeonholed into, you're a good guy.
Okay.
You're for the kids. And I think, I would imagine Ricochet may have had a conversation, let me go back. Let me do something different. Let me explore options. And I could see Triple H going, that's not who you are, man. We put you on the program. You go out there and you flip a little bit, and you're the circus act, and the kids love you. And so I could see that being the reason Ricochet was like, I got to go.
Okay.
I've got to go somewhere where they let me be me, let me run this different character and see if it works.
Sure. I can see that.
That's the only thing I could think, because I'm like you. He was on TV every week. He was Intercontinental Champion not too long ago.
Your wife.
I mean, yeah, his wife is there. I get that, like, he wasn't going to make that next step anytime soon to world champion, but a lot of guys aren't.
Right.
That's a very small list, and I don't foresee, maybe I'm wrong, I don't foresee him being a world champion in AEW.
There's a path that happens.
Really?
For sure.
Over like Darby Allin and those guys who've been grinding for so long? You think Darby Allin's going to be okay if Ricochet jumps over from WWE and skips him in line to be world champion?
No, I'm with you, but
Yeah, mean,
I
I can see the path too.
Right,
I'm just saying,
right.
you talk about, then we go back to Tony Khan and Bad Business, where like take shiny toy from WWE, make it champion, piss off the rest of your locker room.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens for sure.
All right, Mike, let's do. So instead of tier makers, we came up with this on the fly. We spitballed this on Discord.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the class battle. We started talking about wrestlers' ages, and we thought it would be interesting to take each age of wrestling and put them against each other and create a tournament and see at what age. Now, the funny thing about this is people turn ages at a different time, so it's not by year. I'm literally going by age on this one website I found that will tell me their ages. So if these are wrong, we can go back and adjust. But right now, first week, we're doing wrestlers that are 35 years old versus wrestlers who are 30 years old.
Okay, so 5-year increments?
5 year. Well, no, not necessarily. I just picked two random ones. We're gonna do every year. And it's going to be so the winner of this may play the winner of 37 versus 32.
I got you. So
I just randomly 30 and 35 popped into my head. Thought it was a solid little number to start with.
Yeah.
And actually, when I look at it, it came out pretty interesting.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off. I kind of put these in order that I like a ranking order. I feel like best to worst.
Okay.
So we'll start and we'll start off with wrestlers who are 35. We have Bianca Belair kind of heads that class.
Wow, she's 35?
35.
Damn. Okay.
And then wrestlers who are 30, Liv Morgan heads that class.
Ooh. And I'm picking who I think.
No. I'm just slow playing this a little bit. I'm going to give you more.
Okay.
We'll ultimately come up with who's the best squad. Who's the best team. But I'm just slow playing it by giving you, I think those are kind of two of the top names. Now, second, at 35, we have Bayley.
Okay. I knew she was up there. Yeah.
Okay, so Bayley's 35. At 30 years old, we have Carmelo Hayes.
He's 30?
Yeah. It's crazy, right? You start looking at these ages and you start putting these groups together, and someone like Carmelo Hayes kind of a little behind the ball compared to Liv Morgan.
That kind of goes to, I said in the Discord, like, they hold people too long in NXT, man.
They do.
30. I mean, obviously 30 to 40 is kind of a.
Yeah. I think he's fine, but yes, I agree that like you just in your head you think of him as being younger.
Yeah, right.
So those are your twos. Number 3 fitting here, 35 years old Ricochet.
Okay.
Number 3 on the 30-year-old is Sonya Deville.
I thought she was older. Okay.
I did too.
Okay. that's funny.
That's why this is great. I mean, that's
right.
I did too. I would have had her probably
like
more in the 35s.
Yeah.
So she's 30. So she's still got, some time. Number 4, I've got Buddy Matthews at 35.
Okay.
And I've got Trick Williams at 30. Now, this is just off this website.
Right.
This shit could be completely wrong. Somebody fix me. Bobby Sherwood says 35 to 40 is peak wrestler age. I believe that's true now.
Yeah.
I believe WWE even views it that way, that they want you to come into your prime and have about a 5-year run.
Are we sure about Trick though? Like, can we Wikipedia that real quick?
Look up Trick Williams' age?
Yeah.
All right.
Because that just does not seem right.
That don't
I
feel
don't know.
to you?
No. Like even the Carmelo one was kind of like, I gotta let's verify it on somewhere.
Trick Williams' age, born May 26, 1994. He is 30 years old.
Wow. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. I thought he was like at least mid-20s. At least.
Carmelo Hayes, born August 1st, 1994, 30 years old.
That's wild, man. I mean, I guess, yeah, okay. So we got Buddy Matthews and Trick Williams. Okay.
Then next I've got Dana Brooke at 35.
Okay.
And I've got Omos at 30.
That's another one that's kind of like I don't with Omos, he could trick you though, because he looks old as fuck sometimes.
Yeah, but I think I've always said when you get above 7 foot, I think your body just takes a fucking toll.
That's
just
true.
life
That
is
is
just
true.
hard.
Yeah,
Just fucking breathing and stuff. It takes a lot to move blood around and shit at that height.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, then I've got Kyrie Sane at 35.
Okay.
And I've got Pete Dunne at 30.
Pete Dunne looks older than that.
Hell yeah, he does.
It's that European stuff right there.
We've got Athena at 35.
Okay.
Dragunov at 30.
That's about right.
That feels
that's about right.
I mean,
yeah, that's about right.
Carmelo and stuff.
Yeah.
Then we've got finishing off 35. I've got Adam Cole and Nikki Cross, and finishing off 30, we've got Zoe Stark.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hit you.
Okay.
I'll give you the full list. 35 years old: Bianca Belair, Bayley, Ricochet, Buddy Matthews, Dana Brooke, Kyrie Sane, Athena, Adam Cole, and Nikki Cross.
Okay.
Wrestlers that are 30: Liv Morgan, Carmelo Hayes, Sonya Deville, Trick Williams, Omos, Pete Dunne, Ilya Dragunov, and Zoe Stark. And remember, we're judging this as a class and not just as like the one big name. You can't just take the one big name. You got that has weight.
Yeah. So now when we say class, are we talking about what they've done or what they still can do?
I don't think it's fair to say what they've done. Right, because I think then 42 to 45 are going to have
would be this
huge list of. I think it's based on what they've done and what they still can do. Right, because Trick Williams, I think, should be valued fairly high. Same with Dragunov. Right, those two names should hold some value because we foresee a pretty good future with those people. Whereas someone like Dana Brooke. There's not much left in the tank there.
Okay.
What's up, Robert Brown?
So Bianca's still got a lot to do. Bayley.
Now hold on though, because I think Bianca's gonna turn to family pretty soon. I do believe that.
But I still think even when she does that. She's athletic enough. She's kind of like a Becky Lynch almost, right? She can come back and
that can take almost a year or two out of you, and you come back and you're 37 before you know it.
Yeah. I think Bayley's kind of she's done all she's gonna do. There's not much left on that list on that 35 list.
Ricochet, we just had our conversation. Buddy Matthews. While I get the value in Buddy Matthews, I don't know that the upside's just ridiculously huge.
I think I'd have to probably go 30. I think I'd have to go 30, right? Because
chat's saying 35, but I'm with you right now. Well, I'm with you right now because when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, Hall of Fame, Bianca and Bayley, right?
Bianca, Bayley,
not Ricochet, not Buddy Matthews, not Dana Brooke, not Kyrie, not Athena, not Adam Cole, not Nikki Cross. It's Bianca and Bayley.
Like Carmelo's gonna be. He's going to be a guy that's going to be like he'll get like a record for like U.S. title wins or something like know he'll be a mid card guy. Dragunov will be right there with him. I think Trick is a future world champion.
He's a main eventer.
Yeah,
Liv Morgan has already got
Liv Morgan's there
under her belt.
Yeah. Who else was there?
Zoe Stark is interesting.
Zoe Stark,
because if it ever clicks for her, I think she can be in that high mid range of the women's division. Omos was on there for comedy.
Like this 30-year-old class is kind of like was like the NXT going back to it was kind of NXT 2.0 going back to goldish, which they kind of really sparked the interest for me back into NXT. So, I think I'd have to go 30, man. I
think the argument that gets made here is Bianca and Bayley.
Right.
I mean, they're fairly accomplished. We don't think Liv ever reaches that. Even close, right? I mean, Bayley and Bianca both have kind of storied runs.
I think Liv, I think what Liv's doing right now is going to be that's going to be like the top of what she's going to be.
Exactly.
Like, she'll do other things, but like this is going to be, that career defying, like, oh, remember that, Liv Morgan run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I go 30. I think I gotta go 30.
I think I go back and forth.
Really?
I'm going back and forth in my head because Bianca has so much longest running women's champion on Raw. The numbers game says 30.
Yeah.
They have Liv, Trick, and Drogonoff, but then is that enough to beat Bianca and Bayley in my head?
So if we're doing class,
yeah, entirely.
I mean, a class has to be more than two people, I think.
Yeah, no. I'm just the class, but I mean, then Ricochet. If Ricochet didn't just go nuts, that would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
But the problem is it just falls off. Buddy
does.
Matthews,
Yeah.
Dana Brooke, Kairi Sane, who I have no interest in, Athena. Yeah, no, it's 30.
It's got to be 30, right?
It's 30 because there's no cliff at 30 like that.
Right.
Liv Morgan, Carmelo Hayes, Sonya Deville, who I think is underappreciated, Trick Williams, who we both agree is main event superstar at some point. So Bobby Sherwood said, "Who the hell is Athena?" She's
what was her name in that WWE?
Ember Moon.
Ember Moon.
Ember Moon in WWE. She's now in Ring of Honor, or is she?
Ring of Honor.
Okay. Omos, it falls off, but I really just put that name on there for fun.
I don't even think like Omos. Like I listen, man. I kind of rock with Omos. Like we've had our wars in the Discord, but
it's just bad booking with Omos.
It's bad booking.
Not him.
It's not him.
It's by no means him. What me and Lauren said, we watched him on the Bianca Belair and Montez Ford reality show. He has a great personality. If they just let him, the problem is, and this is a WWE problem, they just book big guys to be big.
That's true.
Like let him have a personality. One thing about what was it, the Funkasaurus? I think that saved him.
Yeah,
was having a personality and being kind of silly. Bobby Sherwood says he likes Omos. I don't have a problem with Omos. I think Omos is just booked. Being the Nigerian giant or whatever is a terrible gimmick.
That is true.
It's just bad. Let him be a part of something. He would have been better being like with the Street Profits or something. Be a muscle for them. They should have filled in where Bobby Lashley left. They should have brought Omos in.
Yeah, Yeah.
I mean, a fun little feud would be the Bloodline versus like the Street Profits with Omos and Montez and all that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going 30, Mike.
Yeah, I think you got to.
I'm going 30. I
think you have to.
Ilya Dragunov is one of those guys who, like you said, he could be mid-card. There's possibility he could explode and be a Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
A sleeper for somebody who could hang around. Pete Dunne is Pete Dunne. No. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. There's just too big of a cliff on the top that we fall off of.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so wrestlers that are 30 will move forward. I will post the entire bracket in the Discord so that everybody can see where they go. But I'm thinking we go from like, what's the youngest? 25? 25 to... let me ask you this. Do we create a class that's 25 and under and 45 and over? Or is that just too broad?
I think you maybe not. Maybe.
Because, I mean, how many 24-year-olds are you really going to find? I don't know. We can make a list. And then
that is true.
At 45, what?
So we're okay. So like the NIL thing, they're enticing college athletes. So when you get out of college, you're what, 22?
Yeah.
So maybe 22 to 25, and then
45 to 50,
something like that, or just like 45 to 48.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because like 50, there's no one that's 50 in wrestling.
What's our truth?
Yeah, that's true. But I would imagine like 48 is probably like where we should probably cap it.
Okay, 48.
Yeah.
Did you see R-Truth say he's not retiring until he pins Cody Rhodes?
Really? That's hilarious.
He's not retiring until he pins Cody Rhodes.
He probably will, like a house show or something.
I'm sure they'll give him.
Yeah.
It would be great. It'd be
fun.
And Cody's in on it, so.
Oh, for sure.
All right, right. Well, that's all we've got tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, you're invited to the Nerdy D podcast on Wednesdays. That's going to be for everybody this week. The Casual Wrestling Block Party on Thursday, the Smackdown After Party on Friday, the Raw After Party on Monday, and we hope to see you guys here same time, same place next week for another Mike and D Hot Take show. But for now, that's all we got. The party never stops in the Discord. Like, share, and comment. I am Nerdy D. That's my guy, Milwaukee Mike, and we are out of here.